Hi guys, welcome to this last chapter of the video tutorial series. This chapter, in this chapter, we'll be covering about security. We'll be going through the basics of the security, not the details, because security is altogether a very vast topic. And most of the times, if you are a developer, if you are a database developer, you will not be able to work much on the security because of the rights or the access given to you. So it would be a job of a database admin. If you go on and become a database admin, then I think you will be using the security features of SQL Server very rigorously. So let's talk about it. First of all, we have to understand the concept of a principal and a securable. So principal is a person who is trying to access your SQL Server database or the SQL Server or any of the tables or objects inside a SQL Server. And whereas securable is your SQL Server itself, it can be a database, a table, or any object that sits inside your SQL Server. So you need to understand this. So every time what we have done in our case is we have used the Windows authentication in order to connect to the server. So when we connect to the when we open the SSMS window, the first option that we get is this window, and you can see that every time by default the authentication, Windows authentication, is always selected, which means that if you are an admin user, if you are a user who has been identified by the Windows and you have your Windows credentials with you, as long as you're able to log in through the Windows, you will be able to access the SQL Server as well. The SQL Server believes that you are a genuine user since you have a Windows login and password. But in certain cases, we might want other people or other developers to work on a particular machine, but we don't want them to give the admin rights, or we don't want to give them the complete rights of the Windows. In that case, you can give but they still want to work on the SQL Server. In that case, but you can create their username and password specifically for logging into the SQL Server and giving them the adequate rights so that they can do whatever the job is required from them. So keeping these things in mind, let's begin our journey of creating logins. So logins are nothing but the username and the password that you give for a third user or another user. So the syntax will be create login. Let's say the login name is Lokesh. So Lokesh is nothing but the username, and then you need to type with password equal to. Now this password should qualify or should satisfy the password requirements set up by your Windows system, because ultimately your SQL Server is installed on the Windows system or the Windows operating system. So in our case, the policies are that you should have a one caps letter, a one lower letter, and one alphanumeric character. So we'll do caps P, and then everything follows after that is in lowercase. Then we do at the rate, and I think there is also a requirement to add numbers, so we'll say 1 1. So if you run this command, the login would be created or would have been created. So how to check whether the login has been created or not? First of all, let us refresh the server node, and then you need to go to the security node, and then you need to locate the logins node and expand it, and you can see that the login Lokesh has successfully been created. So if now Lokesh uses the SQL Server authentication mode and uses this username and password, he should be able to log in to the SSMS, and he should be able to communicate with the SQL Server. So let's see whether it works or not. What we'll do is we'll close this window. We don't want to save the changes, so we'll close this. So we'll now again try to open the SSMS window with the new credentials of a new login. and it is asking for the server type and server name, so that remains the same. Only thing that needs to be changed is the authentication mode. Don't worry about all the other authentication modes. These are very deep-rooted concepts, so we are not there at this point of time. So we just have to worry about the SQL Server authentication, or we just need to select this. So the location has already as coming as login, because I think I was practicing before as well, before this video. So the password was caps P, everything then in lowercase, and then @11. I'm sorry, I think I missed some character. Let me type it again. Caps P, small a s s w o r d, then @11, and then we'll click on connect. Now you're getting an error message. I'll tell you the solution to this error message, but first of all, read the error message. It says a connection was successfully established with the server, but then an error occurred during the login process. So it says that the connection was established, but something at the back end of the SQL server, or some of the properties at the back end of the SQL server, is stopping us from connecting to the SQL server.